So the other day I was sitting outside with a friend of mine and we were talking about, I guess the olden days, the 80s. And she was asking me about what it was like, living in the 80s. And one of the things I had mentioned was how nice it was to not have a cell phone. And I remember telling her how much I hated being so accessible to everyone. Because that's the thing about having a cell phone. Everyone thinks that you should answer right away, text back right away, and when you don't, some people get a little bit frustrated. Hi, my name is Michelle, and welcome to our channel, The Freedom Habit. And today I'm talking about some red flags in relationships, and this is any kind of relationship now, romantic, sibling, parent, work. Red flags in relationships where there are some high narcissistic tendencies. So I wanted to read a list to you. I was thinking about that cell phone and why I hated having a cell phone so much. And I remembered when I first got my cell phone. It was Mother's Day, and I was in a relationship. At the time, I was in a relationship with that man I was talking about who is very high on the narcissistic scale. And it was Mother's Day. And for Mother's Day, he bought me a cell phone, which I thought was awesome. Well, I thought that was a really nice gift. It was my first cell phone. I was very excited. It was like, I don't know, 2002 maybe. And I just thought that was a really cool gift. And I did not realize how wrong I was. After a while, I realized that this cell phone was almost like a leash, just a way to be able to reach out to me, to find out where I was at any given moment. And, if I didn't respond, answer the call, respond to, actually, I don't even think there was texting back then. Just, if I didn't answer right away, then obviously there was going to be hell to pay. So that was my first experience with cell phones. And, yeah, that brought back a core memory. And what's interesting is, we get out of these relationships and we think, wow, life is so much better. I'm doing okay. But I, I did some digging and I looked up some red flags and some things that can happen to us, things we don't pay attention to that can linger after we get out of these relationships. So I'm going to put on my glasses. I'm going to read this list to you because it's kind of long. So, all right, I got my reading glasses on. There's like 10 of them, and I thought these were interesting. First one is love bombing, which I talked about that. They're coming in, they're just loving you. And then later they will argue with you and they'll say mean things. They can say some mean things to you. And you know what? This can actually create an addiction for us. Okay. It's called trauma bonding and difficulty leaving. So the cycle of love bombing and devaluation creates an addiction for their approval. Here's an example. Even after a huge fight where he insulted you, the very next day they might apologize and shower with you with love, and you just forgive and go on like it never happened. And I'm sure you can relate. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate. Okay. There's also lack of empathy. Like they struggle to understand your emotions, your feelings, and I don't know, I don't even think they honestly really care to. I can give you an example of that. Christmas time, my brother and his wife, I drove like 10 hours from Tennessee to come up and visit for Christmas. And one evening, my brother and his wife stopped by. They were staying with my parents, and they had stopped by, unexpected, usually no big deal. Wasn't even that late, maybe 8, 9 o'clock. And I didn't even have the kids. The kids were away and asked if they could come in. And my narcissistic partner wouldn't allow that. I had to actually turn my brother and his wife down. And And that was that. So there was no consideration for my feelings. There was no consideration for my family. And that's another thing you'll find is when you're in a relationship with someone who has such high narcissistic tendencies, you might find that they will isolate you from your friends and your family. And when they do let you see them, they have to be there. They like to monitor. They want to know exactly what's said, what you have said. Okay. All right, so just a couple more, and I'm going to go over them really quickly. There's gaslighting. We all know what that is. We deal with it in everyday life, not just in our relationships. There's the constant need for admiration, manipulation, and guilt tripping. That's always a fun one. And they're always the victim. And here's a good one, and I can relate to this, and I'm sure you can too. This is walking on eggshells. And I think that's something that, and I didn't realize this. You know, I used to walk on eggshells around those relationships because you feel like you want to be hyper vigilant. You want to prepare for anything that might happen, any, you know, arguments. You want to be able to, stop that from occurring. So you walk on eggshells and you become hyper vigilant. But the thing is that, and I didn't realize this, is even after I left that relationship, and I noticed this really in 2023 when we were back in America and I was working. I noticed one of the traits I had picked up was saying I'm sorry constantly. I caught myself. I'll apologize. I apologize for anything that I do, but I found like even stupid things, like just I'm sorry, 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 sorry. And it was like all day long. And this one day it actually hit me. I'm like, what is up? Why am I doing this? What is this reaction to? And I really think that it's just some of that residual stuff, that I just need to clear out, start to recognize. And that's the thing is once we recognize some of those behaviors, because it's been 20 some years and I never noticed that before that I do that. And I don't think I do it in all situations, but possibly, we could get into a situation that brings in the same internal feelings that we were feeling in that relationship. So it kind of mimics it. So we might find that we will bring in some of those behaviors that we had in that old relationship into this new environment. And I just want to make you aware of that because I'm suddenly aware of that. And now I try to pay attention to what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling and what I'm saying. Because certainly no one needs to walk around and apologize over and over and over for stupid things, for really nothing. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting trait that I picked up. Okay, so number 9. I'm almost done here. Love turns to criticism. And I noticed this. Um, there was things about when we had first met. There was things about me that he really liked, and he would tell me, "Oh, you do this." When we first met, I was very sociable. My children were young. I was working full time. I was actually going to school every Saturday to get my bachelor's degree, so I was pretty busy. And I was enjoying my life. I was really starting to get it together because I was going through a divorce, like I said, and obviously that's sad. You're rebuilding your life, and I was getting there. I thought I was getting there until I met him, and yeah, so we got together, and the things that he used to tell me he liked about me, I found a year later were the exact same things that he was complaining about. Okay, so the last one is you feel drained and not uplifted. And I think this is safe to say for any relationship. If you're getting to the point where a relationship is just simply draining you, it's no longer bringing you joy, and it's no longer serving you. And unfortunately, you need to either distance yourself or, make some boundaries. Whatever you need to do to keep your peace. So I just wanted to close out this video and remind you that everything you need is within. It's within yourself. We don't have to go outside for external validation. We are inherently enough And our worthiness, it's not on the negotiation table. It feels good, doesn't it? It feels good to say that. To say that out loud. I want you to say that out loud. My worthiness is inherent and it is not on the negotiation table. All right. Now that we've figured that out, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.